You were fired last year because of AI, so welcome back to the company now.
Answer was a plumber.
In reality, companies are not adapting yet as they should. I don't think AI is the end of the world for traditional jobs, but it is increasing efficiency.
Hi, Noel. Nice to see you on this online meeting. Thank you for agreeing to discuss today a few topics on AI and give you some words to do the intro, and then we can chat about how AI influencing actually managerial decisions and what you see as a CEO of the company with your clients, their opportunities and challenges I believe you have in current AI environment. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for the invitation, Oleg. So maybe as a quick intro, I'm Noel, as you mentioned, CEO of Tinkery, this startup that's been around for a couple of years. What we focus on is on commercial intelligence. And given the topic is AI, we use AI everywhere. We use AI for contextualizing information. We use AI for translating natural language, for extracting insights, and for execution of things. AI, which sometimes derives into other things such as machine learning, etc., which is not really AI, but in any case, sometimes it gets confused. No? And as you said, well, and I've been doing AI-related things for many years. I used to have a startup 7-8 years ago, which was doing dynamic pricing and stock predictions before LLMs existed. And I've been in the industry for a while, in technology for at least 20 years.
I just got back from Paris from INSEAD AI Summit. Was interesting insights from Nobel Prize professor on more like academic point of view of how AI will influence economics and what could be the impact for everyone. Besides, I saw our professor Theo, and he's leading right now AI initiatives within INSEAD. Also, he gave some perspective on that. But it was interesting insights from Yann LeCun, who just moved from many decades being in Silicon Valley back to Paris, France, with his newly funded startup. And his vision on what's happening with LLM models at the moment, that if their cost of token will not be resolved in nearest future, we will see a lot of issues for the companies who are trying to get value out of that. Just a brief example of from what he shared, that their most heavy users from subscriptions, 200 bucks a month subscription cost OpenAI like 16,000 a month. So the gap is just insanely high. His vision and his startup is focusing actually not on extensive increasing of your models through just adding additional GPUs, but focusing on more scientific approach how LLM models should work in the future. And from your perspective, what do you see in terms of potential cost? Did you ever have such issues with your clients, the cost of using AI? Because right now it's getting more and more like public topic, especially for the big companies like Accenture, like Uber, who like run out of tokens within the end Q2 for the whole year. So the cost is getting like more and more hot topic in the current discussions for AI usage, not the quality, because we see that it's progressing pretty fast.
Not so much in my case. There is the running joke, no? Of, you were fired last year because of AI, so welcome back to the company now. Now we realize that actually it's costing us more to run this, and marketing budgets or AI budgets are disappearing 3 months into the year, and not lasting for the whole year. So in our case, we don't see that so much because our customers or the consumption we have from an AI perspective is mostly transactional. So we have a lot of text and structured information. Therefore, the queries and the kind of access we have for the use of AI that we do is small in the sense of the amount of data or the amount of queries that we perform, relatively speaking. I see it more from outside our platform, absolutely. So the way content is being produced, the way content is being consumed. So it starts, as we were saying, no, opening the debate of does it make sense to use AI for everything, or should we pause and work first on those optimization models before we continue with the way the world is moving and this exponential growth of the use of AI is happening everywhere.
Okay, and Regarding your company, your startup, what's your vision on how AI will progress and why AI should be implemented in the companies? Because we had the opening speaker, it was Nikolai Tangen. He is a CEO of the largest sovereign fund in Norway. He observes 2 trillion in the assets. So his vision that the companies should be, and the CEOs of the company should be maniacal in terms of how and fast and how broad the AI should be implemented. They have internal program, and he shared some insights. And before I will share those insights, I would like to hear your vision on what are like success factor for AI implementation in the company.
Yeah, I'll answer in a bit of a circular way. So I think that for us, the challenge that we are trying to address is related to trust in data. People have used for many years reports, dashboards, information to make decisions. The thing is that in the past, those decisions were, or those reports, that information was built by people. So people were creating those reports, and you could trust that person based on their capabilities, based on their expertise or not. But at the end of the day, you had someone to blame if things were not correct. No? Now this has shifted. Now there's no one to blame. So we have the LLMs that, better or worse, they just produce those results. And let me go a bit on a tangent. So 15 years ago or so, my grandmother passed away. My grandfather was living on his own, alone. I know it's a bit tangential. And he enrolled himself into a sort of a clinical trial with the local university. The university, they gave him a screen, like a computer, with a couple of buttons. This was, as I said, 15 years ago, before Zoom or before the normal video conferencing. And this was allowing him to connect to other people. So the whole idea was for him to be able to feel less lonely, to feel accompanied somehow by talking to other elderly people. And he hated it so much. So he had it for 2 or 3 weeks. Basically, people would just call him randomly to want to have conversations. And he was very upset. He was not a especially social guy. And he would get very upset saying that I don't want people to call me. What do they want from me? What's the purpose of this? And he was lacking the trust towards those people. Around that time, we had the privacy issues everywhere. So initially with Facebook, so we as people, we as users, we wouldn't trust what Facebook in this case wanted to do with our information. So it was not so much about the data itself; it was about the container. It was about the entities or the stakeholders surrounding the environment. What do they want to do with our data? How can I trust that company or whatever it was, etc. Now the conversation has shifted completely. Now it's trust in content. It's not the container; it's what's inside of it. So we have these LLMs. We have you could call them Grok or Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, who are in their infancy. So they've been around for a couple of years. Despite of that, people trust them with all their hearts. We talk about hallucinations and we talk about the fact that you shouldn't believe everything it says. But the reality is that we do, and we take that information that they spit out for marketing. We use it for decision making. We use it for finances. And we haven't been trained for that as people. So I know it's a long answer, but so I was listening to a podcast the other day talking about Band of Brothers, about if you know this TV show from a few years ago, very successful, Band of Brothers or DC Company. So this group that was in Second World War, Americans, they were in an airborne division. And they were very successful. And the podcast was arguing that one of the reasons why they were so successful is because the officer in charge was a bit of an asshole. So he was really going a bit beyond, crossing all the lines. Like he was really pushing them and making it really hard for them. But in that way, they were prepared for absolutely everything. Making the analogy, now in our world, we have these LLMs in their infancy that sound very smart. But we as users, we as Band of Brothers, we haven't been trained. We are not ready for this new world, these new technologies, and this new way of thinking. Given that, and I think we should train ourselves, we should train people, we should make sure that we understand how to use those tools. But people are just, most of us, and maybe you and me are not including that, no? Most people are just getting acquainted with LLMs. So while we do need to train them, I think the challenge or the way to address this is really on the technology, is on the architecture, is on how do we make sure that data that we have there is correct. And this might be opening a bigger topic now, but it's not so much about the verbiage. If I ask you something to ChatGPT, you don't need to give me an answer if you don't have it. So how do we create architectures that first answer when they have to answer? And if I talk about our case, for example, within our platform, how do you ensure that you have the right definitions everywhere, that you have a certain semantic layer that's able to talk apples to apples and pairs to pairs? So if you're in an organization and finance is asking a certain question to the LLM, he gets the same answer than someone from marketing asking that same question, which is not always the case today, no? Or if someone in sales is asking one question and then the same question, but in a different way, same thing, it should be coherent. So having a semantic layer is basically agreeing on those things. So making sure that you have definitions for what sales means, what revenue means, what people or customers mean. And once you have the middle layer completed, then you can start working on the rest of the architecture. But at least you need that minimum. You probably see that everywhere all the time with your customers as well, no? So that lack of coherence, or the fact that everyone is jumping into the use of copilots and LLMs, but without the right training or the right mentality to.
Yeah, you're absolutely in line with what was a red line of that discussion, that the key success of implementation are people, and within like big organization, you need to find the people who are excited, who wants to get these changes implemented, and this is like one of the key success factors the companies needs to consider if they want to do that. But everything starts from CEO and the board. If they don't have this desire, and in my practice we also have some companies which are saying that, oh, it's too fast, we don't want to run that fast, for us fine what we have at the moment. But there are companies who are like this bank, they just explain people what you just mentioned, that there is no threat. Let's focus not on firing people, but increasing productivity, and how this productivity can lead us to better results in getting more revenue and decreasing our costs. So that's the mentality which allows companies to be efficient and engage people into this implementation. Because you just said AI is not like a universal solution. It needs people, and it will need people, especially who will take the responsibility for the decision. There is a case basically in Argentina. I'm not sure if and how it's implemented, but according to the panelists, they said that in Argentina there is some cases that for the courts, AI agent considered as a legal person to take responsibility. The question is how you will execute your decisions against AI agents. Some misleadings, etc. It's other thing, but there is already the questions which is growing, and some countries are taking it seriously in their perspective and legal field.
And maybe going back to that, because part of it is training, no? And part of it is the ability to, as a human, to understand what's right, what's wrong. But I think it's important that we work as technologists, like you and I and everyone in the industry, to build or to complement the existing solutions to make sure that they become more honest. And I like a certain expression. Also, I think that humans tend to trust people that know what the limitations are and that know what they don't know. And I think AI should start behaving the same way. I've noticed a bit of a change. Just yesterday, I was talking to ChatGPT and had, I think for the first time, like a proper conversation with it. It wasn't just give me an answer and then it would give me an answer. He was sort of self-correcting, which is something, I don't know if it's a new version of the model or what, but he was talking back and then he's like, actually, I've thought about this twice. Or I remember something you told me 2 weeks ago, so I'm going to change a bit the answer right now. And that's it's not a solution. No? I mean, it still might be making things up, but it's at least moving into that direction into which it can correct, it can start being honest about its limitations, what it doesn't know. And I think having that intellectual humility should be a feature and not a weakness. No, we've mentioned things like having that semantic layer, having those common definitions. We need governance. We need other things, but having LLMs being more human, not only in the way they talk, but also in the way they answer and in the way they limit themselves is extremely critical.
Yeah, and then we might talk about the progression and development of LLM models, and we see what's happening even right now that governments are putting the restrictions. Specifically, we're talking about the US and Anthropic case, and it might be the issue which is more and more raised by governments, by different scientists, that the power of these few tech companies who are holding like 99% of LLM models capacity at the moment is big threat for humanity, because this can lead to unexpected results for political systems, for future outcomes and development of the countries.
Which is it's a pity, no? I mean, it's a pity that the context needs to be that. It needs to be the fact that there is a certain instability, especially in the US these days. We feel forced as Europe to protect ourselves, Europe and other countries, no? Being here. Sometimes the creation of these acts or documentation or compliance rules, bureaucracy. Sometimes, like in this case, I think it's a mix. So it shouldn't be just bureaucracy, but I think it's a way to protect ourselves. And I think that's why it becomes somewhat cumbersome. I don't think for example, the AI Act in Europe is not especially complicated to implement nowadays. But it might feel like just another thing that we have to do, no? And it's like, why do I need more processes if I already have 1 million of them? But I think it's important to as you were saying, to have that independence, which is not going to be easy because the OpenAIs and the Metas and the Googles dominate the world, and getting independence from that and the data that they behold is a super big challenge. But I think we need to invest as Europe, but also as entrepreneurs and as company owners here to work towards that independence and making sure that we continue using local solutions or solutions that are more regional, or data that's stored here and not somewhere else. And especially to have, not just for us within technology, but for people that are using the technology to have that exposure and that they are able to see what's happening, why is it happening, where is it happening, you know? So it's, eventually we regain that power when the shit hits the fan.
Thank you. And if we can get back to business side of business side of AI implementation, and what do you see with your clients, the biggest top 3 points that they expect from the AI, and why they implement and what they expect? I understand that it might be like expectations here, the results might be here, or vice versa. Sometimes it happened in our case as well. But yeah, if you can share that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the obvious one is the increase in efficiency. No, it's not only in our case, but everywhere. The fact that we were joking before about the fact that AI sort of made people redundant, and now it doesn't seem to be the case. I don't think AI is the end of the world for traditional jobs, but it is increasing efficiency and it is increasing expectations. And I think customers and companies do that as well. No? So while before, to create a report for marketing, for example, or a certain campaign, it would take you a day or two or a week, and now you're expected to do that in half an hour with the same quality and the same depth. So I think the same amount of people can do 10 times more than what they could, or soon they will be able to do that. This applies to, very obviously, to roles like design, like marketing, like sales also with all the tools that they have now for outreach, etc. But it's also creating a lot of noise, especially when you think of content. So I think they expect more efficiency, but they expect differentiation as well, which is a bit of contradicting itself. And I think that's going to be a challenge that we need to address. If you think of sales, for example, the way it evolves, we are being bombarded constantly by emails and calls and LinkedIn messages everywhere by people selling us very similar things. and it's constant, no? And before 5 years ago, this wasn't the case. Those messages are all the same; they're all AI generated, and they lack that personal touch. Yeah. It's like a blessing and a curse. So AI is making things easier, but at the same time, which is what people expect, but at the same time, making it much more difficult. Where it's just noise, it becomes noise everywhere. Same with blogs, with any kind of content, not design, etc. I mean, you asked me for three things, so that's a very long way to answer the first one. But the second one is efficiency, but efficiency in different ways. So it's having answers to things. So it's not only in the creation of content, but in the decision making process as well. So, and I see it's from a personal perspective. So I use AI as my counselor, and people who use AI for decision making, which could be related to my strategy as a CEO, and can be related to my next step on my task that I have in the office, but also on what do I do in my life today. Everything seems to be evolving towards that scenario of extreme laziness, sort of exteriorizing all the decision making to someone else, which is an expectation from an organization. Or I don't know if an expectation, but it's something that's happening naturally. But it's also a huge risk as well. So becoming dumber and dumber.
That's a good point, which also has been discussed on the AI Summit, that there are so many jobs which there is a big gap, like few million jobs which annually are not covered by a workforce, and AI actually can help to fill this gap, because actually we will see the big flow of especially white-collar jobs into other fields, and we're still at the very early stages of seeing the impact and how this will impact actually creating new opportunities. Because my opinion, maybe 2 years ago, was that it's something unique, and you cannot correlate this to appearance of a car, or appearance like heavy machinery for automation. But every time we automated something, we increased the capacity and increased our GDP's productivity, and we get actual new jobs. So basically we will see a new potential industries which are not existing anymore. And one of the most hot topics, the question was which job is actually is less under the threat, and the answer was a plumber. Actually, it's very complex work, and everyone who is expecting the robots will replace plumbers or workers at the construction companies quite soon. Automation, yes, but not people, because there are things which you need to do. We see there are so many BS in LLM models, but also people also do BS. But with robots, it's even more complex, because we're talking about 3D dimensions and immediate solutions. But I believe in maybe 10, 15 years from now, we'll see very impressive solutions. I don't believe that robots will take over the world in the next 5 years, but 10, 15 is a good horizon to see the implementation. And it's also a good time frame for gradual but still fast changes in workforce distribution within different industries, new industries, existing industries, etc.
Yeah. No, I don't believe in robots as such. I mean, they are cute, the little doggies and so on that you always see in conferences. And for very specific applications, no. But having a robot come to your house to fix your toilet, I think that's still very far away. And especially we talk about cost, no. So we were mentioning the cost of processing, the processing power behind, and how much money is moving and so. But if you have to add the hardware on top of it, then I think it's not worth the cost, no. So you probably pay less by paying some guy just to come, like we do today, to fix the toilet or to fix your carpentry or whatever is needed. It's true. And on the other hand, they say that the one that should disappear the first, or the first redundant kind of job, should be that of a CEO, right? Because it's the CEO role. At the end of the day, it's just you aggregate data from other departments and from other sources, and you make a decision based on that information. So potentially or theoretically, an AI could do very well our jobs.
Yeah, there are some startups who are trying to replace even the CEOs. And from the academic perspectives, it was a discussion of some research which our school with Wharton, they've been doing board AI agent to help board members, so additional board seat to get for AI, and companies who actually implemented them are pretty much happy because again, from what you mentioned, it increases the speed for preparation, but it's like a separate thing. But agent as a board member gives a lot of insights which actually very transparent and non-ambiguous, no prejudice, so crystal clean and digested information and advices. But again, coming back to the question, who is responsible for the decisions? And in this case, you need to have someone who will be a leader of those changes. And leadership still, it's like the least, I think, replaceable thing which you can rely on in this turbulence time.
Yeah, no, I guess there is a difference between manager and a leader, no? So a manager potentially can become redundant. So if a manager
Managers,
just,
yeah, absolutely.
if a manager is just someone that takes decisions or tells people what they have to do, a leader has a very cultural component. So a leader at the end of the day is the one that has to motivate, the one that has to engage, the one that has to make sure that everyone is behind the same idea or vision. Absolutely. But if we are just going to be the ones putting a stamp on things, then we'll probably be replaced, no? And that goes the debate also with lawyers or the debate with doctors. Now you have ChatGPT Health, which in theory can diagnose certain conditions better than a doctor can, in theory. No? It's a big debate. Same thing for lawyers. No? So you can create most of the things that a lawyer could do right away. No? You just ask to build this contract for me and it does it in a minute. So lawyers argue that, well, but you always need someone to confirm that the information is correct, no? Because there are still mistakes and there are things that need to be cross-checked. Taking into account how things are evolving, those mistakes are going to be less and less.
Absolutely. That's the attitude to actually of AI implementation from what we started our discussion, that looking only at their like mistakes and the BS from hallucinations of AI models, it's the way to self contamination and saying that AI doesn't work. But actually, like every new beginning is always having some bugs, and the bugs we had 2 years ago, and now they are like the gap was filled so fast and so efficiently that what I see from the recent models, and we actually implement them into different solutions and have orchestration so that you don't need to have like heavy models to simple tasks. But latest model, they give you like opinions, they give you like a real person. What you also mentioned, I admit this quite recently as well, that I think that I might change my opinion because XYZ. That's impressive, because that shows that the deepness of context which is kept by the models is increased significantly over even the last year. I'm not talking like 3 years ago.
Yeah. That and the ability to wear multiple hats. So I'm not saying that with traditional LLMs, but I tend to vibe code quite a bit. So I create applications with Lovable, with Repli, with N8N and others. And I love the fact that sometimes those products, they wear different hats. So you start developing something, and then the developer agent is the one that takes over, no? And then starts describing what something this now, and then okay, I'm gonna check with the architect, and then the architect sort of takes over, and the architect starts talking back, but talking like a proper architect. And now I'm gonna check with QA, and then some testing guy, testing AI or agent, so takes over and takes that role, no? And they're all differentiated, they all have different purposes, but basically they replace a full engineering team. And again, another debate if they fully replace that team or if they just complement it. No, if it's if we should use those things as co-pilots or rather as an engineering team as such. But it's that ability to change shape and personas and to mimic different kind of humans, which I find absolutely impressive, because it's not just, well, I'm in marketing and you're just trying to replace me from marketing, but no, you're trying to, one product could potentially replace a whole organization, no? If things continue evolving this way. What about, I mean, and you see this probably every day, no? So developing custom applications for your customers, I guess the expectation goes both ways, no? So they also assume that you are going to be doing the same work for
and
abstraction.
obviously it's true that what we are doing right now for 4 months, it would take maybe 7-8 months, and the team 2x from what it's done now. Not saying that the tools like Lovable opened up the market for a lot of people who are doing these simple apps. There's still I haven't seen any application which was built within 10 minutes as a commercial one. They claim, maybe it's truth, but what we see, it's a great tool for prototyping and to providing things for development team fast. When we go to LLM models, which are more professional in terms of coding and providing the tools for the engineers, it's incredible how productivity is growing. And it's like the last maybe question and topic for today is how it will influence our kids. And we see right now that entry jobs for recent graduates from universities, from colleges, and from business schools are significantly lower than it was pre-AI era. What do you think can change this situation, and what organizations should consider, especially big enterprises? Because in 20 years, if you don't have entry position and you don't have this pyramid of growth, it's a big problem when you have someone who is retired and there is no one who can replace him.
Yeah, well, AI can replace that person now. It will have all the knowledge this person or these people have acquired. So I think that I mean the educational system needs to change, and I'm still not seeing it. So in addition to having my own company, I also teach sometimes. And the teaching methodology hasn't really shifted, hasn't really changed. And yes, kids go to school with laptops, and maybe are teaching older kids like business schools and so on. Same thing, no? They're with their laptops, but the way to reach the final information is still the same. So you do it based on case studies for the older ones, or you just do it the old way for the old ones. So now when assuming they continue learning that way, when they join a company which is technology focused, that is using this kind of copilots and that's using AI for every single decision or every single process, there is a process of adaptation, certainly, and the gap becomes bigger and bigger. No, and within organizations, I think that we are the 1%. So we companies like yours and mine, where AI is part of the core, and AI is not only something we use for our products, but also we use it internally across the board, for not only for development, but also for commercial purposes and project management and other things. But this is not yet the case in enterprises. So I'm currently teaching at a couple of big pharmas, and they start to use copilots as Microsoft Copilot in one of the cases, as a companion, as a way of writing text faster, for example, but it's still not something embedded in the organization. In the case of pharma, for example, you start seeing it for the discovery of molecules, but it's a very slow process. It's funny because you have so many tools, so many companies promising that you can accelerate scientific discovery, for example, or you can do whatever it is, no? So and everything, you can do it better, you can do it faster, you can do it more reliably, and you have lots of startups or scale-ups promising that. But big enterprises are still doing it the old way. If you look at manufacturing, for example, most big companies still do it paper-based. Not even on PDF, not even on just with normal computer. They still do it paper-based. So they control the production of petrol with a paper they have stuck on the machine. So to go from that to the era of the robots that are doing everything is still a big leap. So I think that change and that shift of culture, of processes, of tools, it's funny because a minority of us, we talk about these things constantly and every single day and every single moment of our lives, and we dream of AI sheep, but in reality, companies are not adapting yet as they should. So there is this dissonance somehow. And I think I didn't answer your question really, but but I think that to replace those old people, all the things need to happen first. So to ensure that the culture and the organization are ready as humans, and the company needs to evolve significantly still across the board.
Yeah, and I would like to add to what you just mentioned about this person can be replaced in 20 years by AI. It means that the data should organized first, and the companies should think about how to stockpile what they collect from different sources within some storage, so that it can be used. Otherwise, you'll have papers somewhere stuck on the board, and it's something that you still cannot replace. But you need to get this information and to teach, because that's the future.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And in addition to the compilation of materials, no, it's at the end, I think that if we want to live with a thought, it's not about the intelligence of AI or if it's intelligent enough. I think it's is it trustworthy enough? Can we use it for every process within our organization, not just to fix the toilets, but even within an office, no, for the production of content, for decision making. Because I think that at the end, businesses don't succeed because they have the smartest algorithms. They succeed because people can make good decisions with confidence. And if you cannot trust the data, even if it's unified, even if you manage to get all the data from different sources and different tools, and you have it all in one place, if you cannot be 100% sure that information is correct, decisions are meaningless, no? And completely useless.
Okay, Noel, thank you so much for this fruitful discussion. It was great chatting with you, and I hope we can meet in person quite soon.
Likewise.
Thank you again.
Nice talking to you, Oleg.
Yeah.
Have a good one.